Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we've been lucky enough, Kyle Heyer, to be able to have 2 races here over the course of this weekend for Toyota GR Cup North America, but we have one more still left to run, and once again, plenty of storylines to follow here for this series. 31 cars ready to take to the track and see who is able to come out on top. Our championship may have been decided, but bragging rights and the ability to walk away with hardware is still on the top of everyone's mind.
Just one race left to go. We started the season in wine country, and tonight we popped the champagne on a great season. Well done for Toyota GR Cup North America. What an impressive season it has been with this year so far, DJ.
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible to be able to see that here at this point as they're rolling away, trying to get everyone together here at this point. A little cooler track temperatures that we have experienced over the course of this weekend. Going to make things a little bit interesting. Actually, a directive from Race Control coming this morning that we're going to get 2 pace laps in order to account for that cooler temperatures. Make sure these Continental tires are fully up to snuff.
Yeah, certainly. You're going to use that extra lap. Just make sure you got heat in your tires. That was a conversation, especially on the first race of the weekend. That was the Nashville makeup race. Lots of slipping and sliding due to the dew on the racetrack. The early morning temperatures were relatively cool, but that extra pace lap will be warmed up and ready to go racing. We've done such a good job this season. We've had great, immense battles. Just one more 45-minute race, DJ. So do you leave it all on the racetrack?
I think you certainly have to here at this point. There is absolutely nothing that you have left to run for here. We've been running since the beginning of this season in Sonoma, everyone putting everything on the line, and I think especially for drivers like Jordan Segrini, Justin Piscatell, Paul Bocuse, Aiden Yoder, you have got to go for everything that you can to grab those bragging rights, to grab that last little bit as we run through your starting grid here. Gresham Wagner going to be lining up in pole position as he has done many times over the course of this year. His teammate Spike Colbeck is outside. Jordan Segrini lines up in P3, and then it's Justin Piscatell in P4, the podium sitter from VIR. Then it's going to be Tyler Wettingel in P5, and Paul Bocuse and the number 71 machine lining up P6. As we work our way back into row 4, it's Aiden Yoder and Will Rogers. Rogers looked quick over the course of the weekend, but has faded as a little bit of the races have gone along. Jackson Bell, a driver that has had fantastic race pace over the course of this season, he'll line up to the inside of Lucas Weisenberg.
Starting 11th, it's Austin Dodge in the number 31, alongside BSI Racing. Stephen Clemens in the number 76 in 12th place. Behind them, it's Drake Kemper in the number 99. Didn't have a great race yesterday, looking to rebound. Alongside Mia Lovell in the 68 for Smooge Racing in 14th. Giovanni Ruggiero in the number 24 and Michael Garcia make up row number 8. And then behind them, it's Derek Jones in the 44, also looking to rebound from a poor race yesterday. Adam Eisman in the 69. The Canadian rolls off 18th. Kanan O'Connell starts alongside Tommy McCarthy. The 98 and 23 start row 10.
Yeah, and Tommy there has had a little bit of a rough run this weekend, but Alex Garcia will line up behind him alongside Lev Uretsky in 22nd place. Moving back into row 12, it's Farron Davis alongside Mark Pombo. Pombo seeming to be involved in every single battle we've seen out on the track over the course of this race. Spencer Schmidt lines up in 25th alongside Joey DeSilva, who had a rough run earlier today in GT4 racing. Tony Breidinger lines up in 27th with Ruben Iglesias 28th, and then as we continue to move back into row 15th, it's James Klimas and Corey Lewis. Lewis will have to take a pit lane start here this weekend, as will your champion for the 2023 season, Tyler Gonzalez.
And those were from penalties yesterday. For those that caught race 1, there were passes under yellow with a spun out car at the exit of turn 1. Both of those cars made passes under yellow, did not give them back. They will have to start from the pit lane. Gonzalez has already done a drive through the field once this weekend. I don't think he's thrilled about doing it again, but they're going to have to start at the rear of the field for this one. So as cars roll onto the racetrack, this is their last lap behind the Toyota GR86 safety car before we take the green flag on this 45-minute race. That frantic run to turn 1 has been a trouble spot all weekend long.
Yeah, it certainly has, and it's no wonder that it is. 5/8 of a mile down this long front straightaway at Indianapolis into the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. It is a test of grip, it is a test of braking force, and it's not uncommon for us to go 3, almost 4 wide down into that corner, but Kyle, the way the track narrows up, you may come in 3 wide, but you've got to come out in pretty single file.
2 Tech Sport Racing teammates on that front row. Gresham Wagner, yesterday's winner. Spike Kohlbecker in second. But Jordan Segrini, what a phenomenal performance. What again in the number 18. At Sebring, he ran second in race 1 there. Didn't quite have the results in race 2 there or race 1 here yesterday. But third place in the catbird seat for a run into turn 1. I'm watching that 18 BSI racing car.
Yeah, that's one to keep an eye out for. And as I mentioned earlier, Justin Piscatell, we've seen some flashes of speed out of the McCumbee McAleer racing driver. That's the one that I've got picked. And folks, if you're here trackside, definitely one to watch out for because it's bright orange. It's very easy to pick out of the fold.
You can definitely spot it from a mile away. Aiden Yoder, and how about Will Rogers starting in 8th place? That number 6 has been a catalyst to a ton of fun reactions here in this series this season. Well, as I said, we started the season in wine country. We'll pop some champagne on it. This time at Indianapolis, the Brickyard, the final race of the season, DJ. Here we go.
Gresham Wagner has control of the field as they come out of turn 14, looking into the VP acceleration zone here as they go, and there goes the green. We are racing here in Indianapolis. It is a brilliant getaway from Spike Kohlbecker, who is perfectly parallel with Gresham Wagner. Looks like Stephen Clements trying to poke out of line, make it 3 wide back through the rest of the field, but everyone's starting to fan out now as they dive down into turn 1. That's going to be Kohlbecker trying to carry speed around the outside of Wagner. Everyone through cleanly, though, it looks like.
Oh, it's going to get tight here for the open road racing car. Adam Eisman got squeezed, kind of the vortex of danger when you go in there side by side. One of the cars off in the dirt, 4 tires to the right. The BSI Racing 18, Jordan Rick Segrini to the inside of Kohlbecker looking for second, as now they have to get single file for this run through 5 and 6.
Yeah, Austin Dodge, Mia Lovell there looking a little bit close. I think that may have been Tyler Wettengel that cut through the course there at this point, but to your point, Jordan Segrini absolutely on it here, going to try to power around the outside. Clemens still making a lot of moves in the back, and look at Jackson Bell all the way down to the inside there as well.
Yeah, Paul Bocuse threw a big defensive move on Aiden Yoder into turn 7. Going to get very dicey here as they go double wide. Wettengel slides past Bocuse now as Yoder tries to defend now from the 46 of Weisenberg. Clemens and Jackson Bell all on top of each other through turn 10.
Yeah, they're trying to hold it down here, but Gresham Wagner starting to stretch away at the moment. Bocuse trying to look to the back of Wettengel as they work their way up into turn 11 right now. Lucas Weisenberg down to the inside of Aiden Yoder. Jackson Bell trying to pick up the pieces. If anything were to happen, this could get a little bit hairy.
Wow, that number 6 of Rogers just slammed that car over the curb to the inside of Justin Piscatell. Oh. The 68 Smooth Racing car, Lovell, gets punted from behind. She gathers it back up and keeps the car straight. Nice recovery, but she's going to lose 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 spots.
Yeah, and look at that. Tyler Gonzalez already up multiple positions as he runs. But as you said, great car control there from Mia Lovell, and a lesser experienced driver would have let that car absolutely slip away from her, but she was able to hold it together. And here is something that we expected to see earlier on in this season, a little bit of bump drafting going down the famous straightaway here. A big look to the inside there for Adam Eisman, thinking about making that 4 wide. Weisenberg going to take a look to the inside of Yoder as they come through turns 1 and 2. Now it's going to be Jackson Bell on the preferred line.
Yeah, nicely done. That blue and orange car. Again, he's been a pretty awesome driver this season. At times, you've seen him do 3 wide in a couple of places that you normally can't do it. He's been a phenom here in this series. Bit of a slow start to this one. Still running up inside the top 10, but I know he's got pace to move forward. Gresham Wagner leads the way. Kohlbecker, Jordan Segrini, then it's Piscatell and Rogers as Rogers looks to the left on Piscatell into turn 7.
He's going to try to be later on the binders is Will Rogers down to the inside. Piscatell almost shutting the door on him, but leaving him just enough racing room. But now the track favors back to Justin Piscatell. He'll hold on to the line, and that's going to put Will Rogers behind him here. They'll stay in 4th and 5th positions, respectively.
Got ahead of him in the steering there, was able to kind of cross him over at the exit. That should build a bit of a run here leading up to turn 12. It's in an area where the 6 tried to make a pass the last time around. This time he's going to stay driver's left in behind Piscatell and wait for a better opportunity. And it was Drake Kemper that gave the shot to Mia Lovell. That incident at turn 13 is under review.
Yeah, that incident is under review. I got to say that's probably going to be a relatively slam dunk penalty there, but we'll have to see what race control decides to issue there. As they now come through, that's going to be Adam Eisman and I believe Drake Kemper kicking up a big amount of dirt coming down through turn 11. And now they're going to fan out here. We're seeing a lot more spreading out coming down this main straightaway that we have in races previous.
Yeah, Gonzalez has made his way through about half the field now. Perhaps no surprise there. Here's Rogers on Piscatell again. Later on the brakes into turn 1 and not able to clear him here. Piscatell can keep a fender on him. He might have overlap into turn 2, but he will not. So the McCumbee McAleer 28 slots back into 5th place.
slots back into 5th place here as they go. Good running, though, for Will Rogers to be able to gain that position. And look at this train starting to form in behind the 71 there of Paul Bocuse, Tyler Wettenschel, Aiden Yoder, Jackson Bell, Lucas Weisenberg, and Stephen Clemens holding on to the back. This has some real volatility in it.
It does, and for the moment, a couple minutes into this race, we've kind of strung everybody out, so now we're recharging the batteries here to throw some attacks. Tommy McCarthy, big defense down the back straightaway as Tyler Gonzalez sweeps to the right. That's Kemper on his left, and Gonzalez is going to try to go around the outside of both of them here.
Going to try to go around the outside of both of them. The 23 of McCarthy slams the door pretty heartily there. Almost a little bit of contact with Kemper as they work their way through. I can see a big tire mark there on Drake Kemper. Now Gonzalez takes a look down to the inside of turn 10. Is that going to play itself out? It's going to be about halfway done here at this point, but now as he looks down into turn 11, McCarthy trying to give him a little bit of a squeeze.
And here comes Kemper with a shot to the back of the 57. Bit of a bump draft. Why not into turn 12? Late on the brakes. Look out, though. That's tight between Kemper and McCarthy. They keep it clean and tidy, except for the 57 dropping a tire, kicking some dust up in the Indiana soil through 13. Now, though, it's 3 wide on exit as Kemper goes to the left. McCarthy is in the middle.
Bumping and banging and bumping. They somehow sort themselves out there a little bit with just a slight bit of contact in between the two. And I'll tell you who's absolutely loving this here at this point. That's the likes of Austin Dodge, who's been able to close back into the back of this. But now McCarthy going to tuck in behind Tyler Gonzalez and see if he's able to take a little bit of draft away from your champion as more drivers.
Spin! The 57 gets turned off the nose of McCarthy and slides wildly across the front of the field there and comes to a grinding halt in the turn 1 runoff area.
And it looks like here another car in the back barely moving as they're able to get going. It looks like Gonzalez is going to be able to get that number 57 gear wrench machine back into gear and moving forward, but that's going to put him right back down in the order again.
Yeah, that was wild there. They were pushing and shoving just a bit too much. I was just about to say that we hadn't seen a lot of dramas here on the straightaways, but Wagner has dropped to 3rd. Here as Segrini battles for 2nd on him. Wagner will hang on, but Spike Kohlbecker's gone through to the lead.
That had to have been a mistake there by Gresham Wagner. He was starting to grow a gap here of about 2 or 3 seconds. Let's take a look, though, at what happened, and you hit the nail on the head there, Kyle. Just a little bit of a bad bump. I think that was Tommy McCarthy just misjudging that gap in between the two cars.
We haven't really seen pushing and bump drafting that aggressively anywhere this season, so that was probably just a bit of inexperience there, I'd say, but that was a pretty scary slide for the 57, and glad that he cleared the field. And I was just about to say that we have seen 2 distinct packs form. Really first down to where the 57 was running and then the 57 on back. That's another thing we haven't seen. Segrini still trying to steal 2nd away from Wagner. I wonder if he's nursing a problem. This is not like Wagner to drop backwards once the race is kicked off.
No, it's really not. I mean, the only driver we've really been able to see match Gresham Wagner's ability in these cars has been Tyler Gonzalez, and seeing him fall back through the field is very atypical there for him. Let's see exactly what happened. Taking a look at the replay, just a little bit of understeer coming out of turn 13.
Yeah, but he had already lost the lead at that point. That's what I'm interested in, is how he lost that top spot in the first place. That's where him losing 2nd. And here comes now, Wagner's gone back by Rick Segrini. Here comes Rogers up the inside late into turn 4. That sneak attack move he's been trying all weekend long. It's worked this time, side by side through the chicane. Why not? Rick Segrini clears him. Rogers now has a look down Holman Way.
Yeah, but he's going to be on the outside for turn 7 here, and I will bet you that Will Rogers is going to know that. He's kind of put into position here, a little bit of a wobble, and here comes Justin Piscatell, 3 wide down into turn 7. Piscatell trying to be later on the binders, but he bails out of it, and now Rogers sweeps around the outside.
Nicely done there by Rogers to clear both the 18 and the 28. Paul Bocuse sees the door open on Piscatell, sweeps to the right. This move has gotten a lot of drivers in trouble right there. That was very tight. The 28 committed to the corner, and they missed each other by an inch.
Oh, I'll even say that was a millimeter in between the two, but more battles farther back in the field as we see the number 80 and the 71 duking it out here at this point. That's Paul Bocuse. Jackson Bell going to take a look up to the inside there of Tyler Wettenschel. Is he going to be able to get that move to play? No, he's not, and now he's got to play a little bit of defense on Paul Bocuse, who wants that position away, and here comes Aiden Yoder.
Yeah, Yoder, oh, big slide for Yoder, drops a tire in the dirt. Weisenberg going to give him a shove through turn 14. Bocuse has no help. BSI Racing car with Clemens watching from behind as there's a 4-horse race for this position down the order. Now it's that bump drafting down the front stretch that we saw go wrong a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, we certainly did. Weisenberg not hooked up to the bumper there of Aiden Yoder, but he's certainly going to try to take a little bit of air away, maybe make him go a little bit faster. Stephen Clemens decides to poke his nose back and fall in line with Paul Bocuse. That's not going to play out. Meanwhile, the battle for P3 continues. continues to rage on as well. Bocuse with a great move, taking 3.
Well, he really committed to turn 2, and Yoder had to bail out to avoid contact, and Weisenberg took advantage of it, slots himself in between, and then Stephen Clemens will go the long way around as well.
All right, we do have a little bit of information here. Drake Kemper has been given a 5-second time penalty for incident responsibility with that contact with Mia Lovell, as well as the issue between Tyler Gonzalez and the number 23 of Tommy McCarthy. That is under review from Race Control.
Yeah, not an incident that we've seen this year, really, so I'm curious to see how it goes. I mean, you'd think that the 23 would be at fault, but I don't know that we have a ton of precedent for bump drafting issues yet this season, so we'll wait and see what happens there as this 4-car scrap for 8th place continues to rage on between Bocuse, Weisenberg, Yoder, and Clemens.
Yeah, they're going to keep fighting here at this point. It is Bocuse out in the lead, then Weisenberg, Yoder, and Clemens. This has allowed for Jackson Bell to scamper off a little bit and close in on the likes of Tyler Wettengel and Justin Piscatell up in front of him. So that continued rise here from Jackson Bell. We haven't seen the greatest qualifying performances out of Jackson, but when the race comes, Jackson is electric.
Yeah, and there's Piscatell and Wettengel fighting for 5th place, and all the while, just keeping my eye on the gap between Kohlbecker and Wagner. It's 1.3. That's a bit smaller than it was. So while Wagner had to fight off the BSI racing car of Jordan Rick Segrini, now he's able to focus forward again and is closing back in on Kohlbecker, as Piscatell now has Wettengel filling the rearview mirror of his orange GR86. And here comes that number 80. Piscatell goes to cover, but it's too late as the 57 is going to head down pit lane.
I wonder if that's maybe a little bit of terminal damage there for your champion in 2023. Wettengel, though, with a great move around the outside there of Justin Piscatell. And I've got to give Tyler Wettengel some credit here, Kyle. You know, he's been a solid mid-pack driver over the course of this season, but when we have come to Indianapolis, Wettengel has just absolutely taken to this track like a duck takes to water. Really, really coming alive.
Yeah, certainly. I wonder if that 57 will put some fresh Continentals on, perhaps, from flat spots. Sliding across the surface like that with the tires locked up, that's just going to grind a flat spot in that Continental tire, and he'll have to replace them to avoid any further damage to the car. Kohlbecker, Wagner still separated by 1.4. Then it's Rogers and Jordan Segrini. They run nose to tail as Paul Bocuse, feeling some pressure from Weisenberg, Yoder, and Clemens, drops a couple tires in the dirt there on driver's right.
Yeah, and this is going to be something that we talk about really over the course of this entire race, just pushing to the absolute extreme. We haven't really seen that many drivers pushing to the point where they're going to find themselves out on the outside of the grass, but they're definitely going to test those limits a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the exit of 7, there's no rumble strip or curbing there to keep you from running wide. So if you overcommit to the exit, you're going to hit the grass. And we've seen a couple of cars go for some rides over there for sure. A lot of other areas are covered in pavement. You can get pretty aggressive with the track limits here. But Bocuse, Weisenberg, this is for 8th, as we mentioned. And Wettengel, Piscatell, and now Jackson Bell closing up on the back of that 28.
Yeah, and I wonder here for Piscatell, or for Paul Bocuse here, if this is going to be just a little bit of a situation where he's a cork in the bottle necessarily as he tries to get on by. Here comes a look down to the inside, though that's going to be Jackson Bell trying to make the move on Justin Piscatell, going to force him out wide a little bit, and once again sweeping around the outside. Bell's got a little bit of crossover. Is he going to have enough to be able to complete the move? Yes, he is. Yet another good move for the Californian.
Yeah, if you can hang on driver's right through turn 2, which is a left-hander, you're basically gifted 2 more right-handers where you can complete that, and they're flat corners. They're tough to stay on the outside. So Jackson Bell set that up very nicely, read the road very well, and completed that pass. And Weisenberg tried to do the same thing on Bocuse, but wasn't successful on that first attempt.
No, wasn't quite successful there. Piscatell thinking about maybe having a little bit of a look. Let's see if Weisenberg maybe has a look on Bocuse. No, that battle of 4 is going to stay in line. By the way, message from Race Control that the incident between the 57 and the 23, that's going to be reviewed post-race.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I think they're going to want to talk to both drivers about that. And like I said, we haven't had a lot of precedent with front to rear straightaway incidents this season. It's mostly been in the corner and turning people around. So they'll talk about it and they'll discuss things. But you know, the last weekend of the series is worth talking about before next year. As Weisenberg has another look at Bocuse to the inside, not able to take a look there. And I'll tell you what, Weisenberg, here's another look at that. And it looks like McCarthy just moved left. It looked like he was just trying to time it to swing to the outside of Gonzalez and just frankly mistimed it, right? I don't think it was intentional at all. Just swept across the swept across to the left and turned around the 57.
Yeah, and it sounds like there that Tyler Gonzalez was just going to the brakes as that happened, and so I think that closing distance was a little bit of a surprise there for Tommy McCarthy.
Totally caught him by surprise, and it was just really bad timing, and that's why they want to talk to the drivers and sort things out. Spike Kohlbecker leads the way, drops a couple tires on the right at the exit of 2, but has a lead that is not dwindling over Gresham Wagner, though. These teammates have worked well together at times, DJ. They also have had some really aggressive races. Remember back to VIR, they had a pretty fierce fight. So I think there's going to be some bragging rights to win here in this last race between these two.
Yeah, I certainly think they are. And remember, these were the two that came in. This was the battle that we were really watching in terms of the championship was for P2, with Gonzalez already locking that up. So at this point, there's still plenty of them left to play for here. And Spike Kohlbecker, that was a big bit of oversteer there for Gresham Wagner.
Yeah, I also noticed the wipers do a wipe there. Now, there is some precipitation that has been in the area this morning, and I'm just watching the cars slip around on the surface. Don't really anticipate it being a big issue, but I'd be remiss if I didn't notice the sliding around that we've seen, as we've got a big battle here between Pombo and Ruggiero in the 24.
Yeah, leaning on each other there, coming through turns 7 and 8, now through 9 and 10. They continue to just try to sort themselves out here a little bit. Mia Lovell, though, doing what she does best, silently, quietly moving her way up through the field. It's a really impressive run, as now the 44 of Derek Jones going to try to get a little bit of a lineup here on Mark Pombo after that battle with the 24.
Yeah, Corey Lewis making his way forward. Mia Lovell on a recovery drive after getting kind of knocked out of the way earlier by Drake Kemper, but she has righted the ship now and is moving forward quite nicely, I'd say, as the cars stream up onto the echoey alleyway of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway front straightaway. The soundscape here between the grandstands is just unlike any other racetrack that I've been to. It really is a treat, as these flat 4 engines scream up to north of 7,000 RPM in their pursuit of victory here at IMS. Paul Bocuse still has Weisenberg behind him. I bet you Weisenberg's real sick of seeing the Copeland Motorsports car out the windshield.
Yeah, I bet he is as well. And I've got to think here, if you're Lucas Weisenberg, that he wants to try to get by as quickly as possible, because he may have the speed to be able to go down and chase the likes of Piscatell and Jackson Bell. When they were running side by side, the speed looked relatively similar in between the two, and I think this is a situation of the Lucas Racing driver just being caught behind Bocuse here at this point.
Yeah, certainly, and this 4-car battle has not dissipated at all, and just ahead of them is a few more cars that they can capture. So if this is not the fastest locomotive leading the train, they might consider switching things around here, but I don't think Bocuse is giving it up. Like I said, everyone's leaving it all out on the racetrack here. They'll be hanging their tongue out and sweating by the end of this thing in the final 25 minutes at IMS.
Yeah, they certainly will be. These races are not easy going, let's say, to say the very, very least, but this battle of 4 right now between Bocuse, Weisenberg, Yoder, and Clemens continues to rage on. Up ahead of them, it is Justin Piscatell trailing behind Jackson Bell. Bell hasn't really been able to close in on the back of Tyler Wettengill here as they work their way back onto the main straightaway once more. Weisenberg trying to get that draft, but it looks like it's going to be advantage Yoder here at this point, as he's a little bit closer to that number 46.
Yeah, Gresham Wagner has run that lead back down slightly, but Will Rogers has also caught Wagner slightly as well once he's cleared Jordan Rick-Sagrini in the number 18, that orange and black car. So I don't think we're done quite yet. We're not even to halfway, DJ. These are fairly long races for these GR86s, and that means that there's still plenty of action left to go. And for Kohlbecker, he's got a pretty steady lead, but he can't just relax. He's got one of the most successful drivers in the series hounding him from behind, and Will Rogers, who must be the hungriest of them all.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to be on his toes this entire way through. Sagrini almost took a little bit of a look there on the back of Will Rogers, probably just trying to get into the head there of that Godwin Motorsports driver, see if he can force an error. We've seen that move so many times over the course of this weekend here, Kyle, but it's never really come to fruition.
Yeah, and Sagrini is new to this series. His first race was back at, I believe, Nashville in August, so joined the series fairly late, but has immediately found pace right up at the front of the field, and he's showing no signs of lacking racecraft. He has been in the mix, slicing and dicing with some of the best in this series. That has been fun to watch for sure. As we jump back in the field a bit, Jackson Bell again in Piscatell, that 2-car race for 6th place, and then Bocuse, Weisenberg, Yoder, and Clemens that are, I would say, tidy for now, but I wonder how long the patience will last on the 46.
Yeah, I've got to imagine here in another about 10 minutes time, we're going to start to see elbows really come out here at this point as drivers continue to go. I want to give credit to Jordan Segrini. He set his personal best time on the last lap and actually went fastest out of anybody through Sector 3 on that last lap. So there is a lot of speed in that number 18 BSI racing machine as they continue to work their way around.
Yeah, the accordion is compressing. Piscatell, late dive on the brakes past Jackson Bell. And he's through, takes that spot, made it look fairly easy. We'll see if Bell can respond and go back by in the middle part of this Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. 14 corners, he's elapsed 2 of them now. We'll see if he can use the other 12 to get back by.
Yeah, and it looks like Jackson Bell just lost a little bit of time there as they worked their way on through the first half of this infield section. Probably just a little bit on the back foot in terms of momentum. Going to try to get his way back on through, little side-by-side farther back down in the field. But let's see here. Bell going to try to maybe think about a move. No, and I'll tell you who's loving seeing this action. That's Paul Bocuse. That's allowing Bocuse to catch up to the back here of Piscatell and Jackson Bell.
The more you fight, the more time you spend side by side, the slower you go. Big lunge in the background, by the way. Drake Kemper was under fire from Austin Dodge in the 31. He went down there into 7 with a big head of steam. But now that they've sorted that out, Piscatell beginning to put some distance on Jackson Bell as we jump back to Bocuse, Weisenberg, and Yoder, and they've dropped the caboose off. Clemens is coasting away the wrong direction now in 11th place.
Yeah, he's fallen off the back here a little bit. He's still within draft range, which is very, very crucial for these relatively lower horsepower cars. You need to be able to use that draft to suck up to the car in front of you on the straightaways. But I'll tell you what, Aiden Yoder just got a great run there out of turn 13. He may have a little bit of an idea of what to do here coming down the straightaway on Lucas Weisenberg.
Yeah, nicely done. And you mentioned the horsepower of these cars. They've got 230 horsepower at the crank on these flat 4 engines in this Toyota GRD6. But what that flat engine affords you, it's a very low center of gravity. So the car is extremely tossable and slidable and has near 50-50 front-rear weight balance. That's why these cars can hang on the edge of control so delicately, as we've seen all season. Bocuse, Weisenberg, nose to tail still. That 46, though, looking pretty racy and closes in at the exit of 2.
Less than a car length the gap between them and less than a car length back to Aiden Yoder. Yoder takes a very wide line going down into turn 4, trying to maximize speed as much as possible. That's going to put him in great position here, provided he doesn't have to lift coming through 5 and 6. I think this is Aiden Yoder's corner to go here at this point. But now Weisenberg gets a little bit of a push here, and he's going to get a little bit of a run. Is he finally going to be able to make the move here on Paul Bocuse?
I'm not sure he's going to go for it just yet. Both Weisenberg and Yoder have just played their season so smart, and not a lot of mistakes from either of them over the course of the year. They have just shown so much restraint in their racecraft, and that's something that can sometimes be rare with young drivers as they learn the complications of 3-wide racing in sports or touring cars. And they've just done an exceptional job holding themselves back and waiting for the opportunity to come to them. Now, that being said, 20 minutes to go at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I don't care how restrained you are, you're going to think about going for that pass at some point.
Yeah, certainly. And both of their restraint, their heads up, has really paid off. Weisenberg able to take a win. Yoder able to take podium back at Nashville. So very, very good heads up driving, and it's paid off for both of them. And I'm very excited to see where their careers are going to go, because those are 2 drivers that have a good head on their shoulders and know how to drive and drive intelligently.
So those 4 remain stacked up with about 2.5 car lengths between them, and all the way at the top of the screen. The gap to the lead is under a second now as Piscatell and Jackson Bell are back together once again. They have not been able to dispatch each other, stuck like magnets nose to tail down the front stretch.
Yeah, very much so. They are very, very tied together. But once again here for Lucas Weisenberg, he has got to get a move on. He has got to, I think, be a little bit more aggressive. We've just been sitting here applauding him for being heads up about it. But I think if he wants to try to work his way up into this top 5, and the speed out of that 46 machine certainly is indicative that he could, he's got to get a move on, and he's got to get a move on now. 20 minutes left to go in this race. If he wants a shot at the top 5, he has got to be aggressive on the back of Paul Bocuse and get by this car that I think is slowing him down.
Now let's give Bocuse a lot of credit. He has just come from nowhere. The last couple of rounds at Sebring, what a performance he had there, and here this weekend he has been a staple at the front of the field and showing some expert driving here, keeping these 3 other cars behind him and looking very neat and tidy behind the wheel, though he did have a bit of a lateral slide. So does Yoder at the exit of turn 10 through the grass, 4-tire, dirt tracking it through turn 11 and tucks in behind Stephen Clemens.
And that'll be a gift there to Clemens, who will now be able to be the one to tuck up behind Lucas Weisenberg to see if he's able to go. The Clemens looked a little bit sideways there coming down through turn 12. They're going to push their way around here at this point. Another big bobble there for Clemens. Not exactly having that car perfectly put together.
Yeah, just a bit of lateral motion at the moment as they skid around. A very flat surface here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The road course doesn't have much in the way of elevation nor camber in the corners. You're leaning a lot on the tires to give you the grip that is required. Tell you what, though, this lead battle getting pretty tight, 0.6 of a second. And if Wagner gets there, everybody gets there because Rogers and Segrini are right there behind.
Yeah, and Segrini, I've noticed here, has been kind of poking and prodding on the back of Will Rogers, looking this way, looking that way, trying to see if he can maybe get a little bit of an advantage to be able to get on by him. Now, he's not necessarily sending the 18 down to the inside. He's not making a big pass on it. He's just trying to see if he can find a break in that armor.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job, but you have to look bigger picture, right? Rogers is the immediate frustration right ahead of you, but there's 2 more cars, and those are more points. Those are more on the check at the end of the day as well. Keep that in mind as we get to the end of the season and each race with the cash prizes that are available here in this series. So keep the big picture in sight as Kohlbecker is feeling that lead wane with the Tech Sport Racing teammate Gresham Wagner closing in behind. You see the bull on the side of it, and as you mentioned at VIR, he is just absolutely on it here in the late going with that Baby Bull Racing livery.
Yeah, very much so. And how many times have we seen Gresham Wagner do this? I mean, just wait in the weeds. Just hold back, not push until he absolutely needs to, and then spring into action. It's kind of become Gresham's MO here at this point, saving that Continental rubber for as much as possible. It's always impressive, and you can never count him out of a race as a result of it.
17 minutes to go, and Wagner is less than a half second back. This is where that draft, that slipstream, starts to feel more effective. North of 100 miles an hour, and within about a half a second of the car ahead of you. He's closed that down, and looks like, is that Uretsky that's gone for a big slide at the exit at 10 in the number 27 McCumbee McAleer car. He awkwardly clambers back on course, but he'll drop in behind the 7 of Garcia.
Yeah, and that's Garcia that's able to sling on by him there, and I've got to imagine that's probably just a result of getting onto the throttle a little bit too early. Yeah, the rear end of the car just kind of stepping out on him there. Great car control to be able to hold that. That rear end of the car was about ready to break away from Leveretsky, and he held that well.
Yeah, modulate the throttle and the steering, and that's what that rear-wheel drive platform is all about, slipping and sliding. Even when you don't want to, it can be a lot of fun when you want to, for sure. Kohlbecker, though, has Wagner still tucked behind. I'll tell you what, Rogers and Segrini losing some ground to those 2 up front, but when Wagner relights the wick, we'll see if all 4 will burn it down up front.
Well, I've got to imagine if we see Spike Kohlbecker and Gresham Wagner start to battle a little bit side by side, and I certainly don't think it's going to be a situation where this is going to be a one-shot done pass from Gresham Wagner. It's farther back in the field. That's going to be the number 8 machine of Corey Lewis working his way by Austin Dodge. Corey, a great story. A GT3 driver was out yesterday for a bit, unfortunately, in the 8 hours of Indianapolis. Had a mechanical problem on the car that really scuppered their running about 3 hours into it, but an experienced GT3 driver said, I want to try my hand at this GR Cup racing, and, well, he's in the series running away.
Well, here is a pass on the number 31 of Austin Dodge on the outside. He's jumped right into the thick of it there. Watch Dodge hit that curb, opens the door for the 8 to slot up the inside. And now Derek Jones has pressure from Mia Lovell in that 68, kicks out the rear end slightly at the exit of 2. Or actually, this is coming back up onto the front straightaway, rather, and up onto towards the yard of bricks. 15 minutes to go, and Weisenberg tries again on Bocuse down on the inside of turn 1.
And this is exactly the kind of aggression that I was talking about, that you're going to start seeing ratcheting up here as this race continues to tick closer and closer towards the 0 mark. We are getting a message here from the 44. That's Derek Jones farther back in the field, a warning for blocking. And I think that's something that Paul Bocuse is going to have to be wary of as well. Bocuse is not driven defensively. He's not veered offline, but he needs to keep doing that.
Well, let's see what he does does here, okay, he's moving back to the right. You get one defensive move in front of the car behind you, but you can't do it in reaction to the trailing car. He hasn't even bothered to go defensive yet, but it's a rule that you got to keep in the back of your mind. Another big lateral slide through turn 7. It's slippery over there. And leaving turn 10, we've seen a lot of counter steer in these front engine rear drive machines. It certainly is fun to watch, but behind the wheel, it's a sketchy moment as you get the car back up to speed.
Yeah, very sketchy indeed. It also looks like there that that's going to be behind them. Not Stephen Clements, excuse me. That's Aiden Yoder may have a little bit of a run on Stephen Clements, but they're going to stay in line coming down into turn 12 here at the moment. That's Lucas Weisenberg trying to take a little bit of a wider line, just poking and prodding, looking for any way to get by Paul Bocuse. Bocuse puts a little bit of a tire off into the dirt there at that point, and now they're going to get out onto the main straightaway here. Let's see if this draft comes into play again for Weisenberg. Is he going to have another shot going down into turn 1?
This has been the compelling fight so far. All the way back in this battle for 8th place, and I don't think we're done right just yet. You mentioned the ratcheting up the intensity. Certainly we're getting there, and the same is true for the lead. Look at the 18, the BSI racing car of Segrini has gone by Will Rogers, and they've separated themselves from the Tech Sport racing cars, so they're going to have to hope that the two leaders begin to battle, but Jordan Rick Segrini, again, puts himself in contention for a podium spot.
Yeah, puts himself in contention here at this point, and we'll have to see what he is able to do if he's indeed able to close down on these two Tech Sport racing cars. Wagner there with the windshield wipers going. I've got to imagine that's just something that he flicked, and he's too focused in at this point to be able to get it a shit. But we are hearing that there are a couple of drops coming down here and there. So this surface, not only cold, but slick.
Yeah, it's been just kind of baby sprinkles here and there this morning. There's precipitation in the area. It hasn't come down super heavily, hasn't required a wet weather tire. I don't think it's helping the grip of the surface. It's been pretty slippery here this weekend, and I don't think any rain is going to assist that, but certainly I don't think we're going to get to the point where we're sliding around on puddles or anything in the last 12 minutes of this one, but something to note that it's distracting enough that Wagner has elected for the windshield wipers.
Well, it's also important to note here that we are not in unprecedented territory with running like this. If we think back to the Circuit of the Americas race, this is very, very similar to what we saw there.
It was a little wetter there, but I'll tell you, if it starts to get worse, we could see that kind of condition. It doesn't look grippy. It's just been very on edge. All 3 races we've had here this weekend, but you're right. And we did have that transitional period. I don't think we've even had a wet race at all this season. So that would be uncharted territory, absolutely, as Rick Segrini and Rogers go back to battling again for 3rd.
Yeah, they're going to try to do that. And I think if you're Will Rogers here in this position, you let Rick Segrini run. You let him see if he's able to get a play up into the front of the field and maybe close in on the back of Gresham Wagner, because that gap is now 1.8 seconds. And if Jordan Rick Segrini is able to close on in, well, by all means, just trail in behind and follow him and see if you can pick up the pieces if he starts to battle with Gresham Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner's still got some work to do, but looking in the mirror, I think he'll have a slight grin on his face, because Rick Segrini and Rogers have effectively removed themselves for the lead battle at the moment because of their scrap that they had, and Rogers kind of awkwardly bounced over the curbing in the chicane, so his attack on Rick Segrini will be thwarted for now. But these two drivers, again, going back to a handful of races we had, specifically the one I'm remembering at VIR, they just did battle door to door. And I think it was it Weisenberg that was the 3rd driver in that mix. They don't have that wild card here today. It's just going to be settling it between these two.
Yeah, it'll be settling it between these two with just under 11 minutes to go on the clock. And it
trouble in the chicane, DJ. There's a car spun around over there, just looked out the window to the right. And this is the 37 of Schmidt, I believe, that went around for a slide in a weird place too, by himself. It didn't look like there was anybody else around him.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a strange incident there for the number 37. Not entirely sure what happened to him. We'll have to see if we can maybe pull that back up.
Oh, it's crabbing big time.
Oh, yes, it is. Here is a replay of it.
Was there contact maybe?
That's going to be with Garcia. Garcia loses it, dipping a tire off into the gravel there, off into the grass. Garcia's going to be able to get back and going again. And then what happened to Schmidt? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked like he just lost it on his own. I don't know if he dropped a tire and then got it covered in grass or gravel, but he just looped around. So very strange, but back to 3rd place. Segrini and Rogers going into battle.
Yeah, going into battle here at this point, and I love the line that Jordan Segrini is taking through that 5 and 6 complex, just absolutely lining up the corner corner perfectly, really hopping that number 18 machine over the curving. And remember the rules that were put down from race control. If you have contact with one of your tires onto those curbs, you're fine. You're in the clear. So that is not a cut course penalty there for Jordan Rixagrini.
Yeah, if you're touching blue, you're good. If you're not touching blue, you're in trouble if you're off to the inside. There's a lot of damage to the right rear. Something's broken, a toe arm or something. Here comes Clemens around the outside of Weisenberg. Where'd this come from? The 46 also, I've just noticed that front lip dangling just a bit off the bumper as well. That might be a distraction, but Yoder now slots himself between Clemens. Clemens was the hunter, now he's the hunted.
Yeah, good pickup position there for Aiden Yoder, recognizing the battle going on before him and just picking the pocket there of Steven Clemens. Now, he's not going to be close enough to really make a run here on Lucas Weisenberg as they dive down now into turn 12, but he's certainly going to put some pressure here to the back of the number 46, looking to see if he can make anything to run here at this point. Oh, but Yoder goes a little bit wide.
Yeah, he's really pushing right now, trying to extract all the speed he can out of those Continental tires and his Toyota GR86 race car here in the final couple minutes of this race. As the 18 and 6 go back to battling into 12 and 13. This has been a very fair fight between those two. Been a pleasure to watch them race as we get a look at Wettingel, then back to the 18 and 6 here into turn 4, DJ.
And once again, Tyler Wettingel doing a fantastic job here. Another one of those drivers that's really come alive at Indianapolis, just doing a fantastic run. And look at this, Jordan Segrini. Something happened there to Gresham Wagner.
No,
that's a lapped car. Excuse me. Yep. Excuse me.
And so they're going to make their way by that. And thankfully, that has not gotten in the way of Spike Kohlbecker, but Wagner has reeled in Spike just a touch more. It's been steady at about a half a second here, DJ, but it's close enough that any mistake Spike makes, Gresham's going to pounce. And with Wagner behind you, you're going to have your eyes in the mirror at some point. It feels like it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of time here at this point before this battle absolutely fires off. Once again, we talked about this. Gresham has a penchant for just holding back a little bit, waiting to the opportune moment, and then striking. Let's check back farther in the field. Mia Lovell leads Mark Pombo, Ruggiero, and Jones right now in a little battle. This is back in 17th.
And again, Lovell's done a great job rebounding. She got turned around earlier and has just done a nice job moving back forward into to 17th. And actually, 17th place. Pombo sits behind her. So nicely done. She's got some tire marks on it. Certainly battle torn on the left side of that Indava 68 Toyota, but she's done a nice job. Wow, Pombo dove in there pretty deep, DJ. Almost got in the back. I'm sure that Bosch ABS vibrating underfoot there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was as well. Ruggiero thought about taking a little bit of a look there into turn 13 as well to see if he could get that to play, but that's not going to go here at the moment. Let's check back in on the battle for the lead as the leaders here, Spike Kohlbecker and Gresham Wagner, closing in more. It's down to about 3 car lengths in between the two. They fly over through 5 and 6 right now at the moment. The gap holds at about 0.5 of a second. Call it 3 or 4 car lengths.
Yeah, Wagner's going to have to find an advantage somewhere that's leading up to a straightaway. He's got the slipstream now. He just needs to be able to take advantage of it. Closing in within a car length and a half now into turn 7. So this is as close as he has been since the drop of the green flag. We still don't know how he lost the lead, but he has been unable to wrestle it back from his teammate in that number 55. You'll notice the mismatched bodywork on that car. It was involved in a crash at Sebring just 2 weeks ago. This team has put this thing back together, and now it's leading the race with 6 minutes to go.
And how fantastic would that be as a testament to that Tech Sport Racing crew if they are able to not only come back and run competitively here in Indianapolis after suffering that big lick at Sebring, but to be able to walk away with a 1-2 finish, that would just be icing on the cake.
Yeah, certainly. And honestly, Kohlbecker just had a pretty disastrous run at Sebring. It was not what he was looking for. He had the opportunity to run down Tyler Gonzalez in the championship battle, but with 2 bad races, it wasn't enough. And so Gonzalez was able to wrap up the championship. And think about this, just the what-ifs of motorsport. Had Kohlbecker had an exceptional weekend at Sebring, what would have happened to Gonzalez? He has had a disastrous weekend here. Though he's rebounded nicely from those issues, it would be a very different story coming into this weekend.
Yeah, it would be as well. We also check back in on that battle for P8 here at the moment. Paul Paul Bocuse leading Lucas Weisenberg, Aiden Yoder, and Stephen Clements. They've swapped around a couple of times here, tried to make things a little bit spicy, but it hasn't come to play. Also in front of them, Jackson Bell continues to hold off Piscatell there for 6th position as this battle for P8 just decides to stay in line as the clock strikes 5 minutes to go.
And they have played by the rules of the playground for quite some time. Who's going to reach out and throw the first swing, though? Again, 5 minutes to go in the season. You know, you got your car all the way to the end here, DJ. Are you going to use up some of those body panels? You got a couple months to put them back together, right?
Well, let's hope they don't get too scruffy here at this point. And I'll tell you what, though, Lucas Weisenberg with the run of his life coming out of turn 4 into 5 and 6. Is he finally going to be able to make the poke out here on Paul Bocuse? He certainly starts to fade like he is, as does Stephen Clements down to the inside, as here they come onto the binders. No movement.
Yeah, I'm still noticing that front lip on that 46 is vibrating pretty wildly. So that's got to be a distraction, and hope it stays at least attached. Otherwise, it could go under the car and cause bigger problems as Lovell stays on defense here on Pombo, Ruggiero, and Jones in behind in the 44.
Yeah, it looks like there Lovell just takes a little bit of a defensive line. That's going to compromise her exit of the corner there just a little bit, but not enough that Mark Pombo is going to be able to take advantage of it here. Dipping a tire off into the grass is Ruggiero, and Jones going to try to take advantage now as well. But it doesn't look like anything's going to play. Does Ruggiero have a little bit of a run here at this point? Kyle, you're looking at something.
I think there's a piece of the vinyl wrap maybe that's coming undone on the left front tire of the number 10. Won't be an issue at all. Just kind of funny flapping going on. Look at the 24 down the inside. That ain't going to work. The 10 gets turned. Pombo goes around.
Pombo goes around, having to take avoiding action. There is Ruggiero and Jones spinning up the rear tires. There is Mark Pombo. That is not going to be a happy driver for VGRT.
He went around and he just stuck that throttle to the floor and burned out on the Continental rubber, and he's definitely upset with that. The 24 went down there pretty late there, DJ, and just turned him around.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cut and dry. There wouldn't be surprised if Race Control has something to say about that.
Derek Jones did a great job avoiding that. Quick hands to the left and then back to the right to miss the spinning number 10. That was a job well done there by that camp. As top of the screen, there's Piscatell and Bell running nose to tail with a very lonely Wettingel just up the road, who's been running a pretty solid race in P5 in that number 80 for Nitro Motorsports.
Yeah, Tyler Wettingel really running in an island unto himself here at this point. But this battle is back for P8. This certainly hasn't been lonely at this point. Paul Bocuse, Lucas Weisenberg, Aiden Yoder, and Stephen Clements, they continue to run very close to one another. They're going to have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with up ahead of them. I think that's Klimas that they're going to have to deal with before they come around to the line. And I believe this should be just about 2 to go for our leaders as they cross the stripe.
Yeah, 1 minute 40-second laps and 2 minutes and 15 left on the clock. So I think you're right about that as Spike Kohlbecker crosses the stripe 6/10 ahead. But the battle remains for Bocuse, 8th place, Weisenberg 9th, Yoder 10th. This one I still think has tons of volatility. They just have not yet quite decided to engage the missiles on the front of their cars here as they go to war in the final moments of this one.
No, I don't think they have either, and I think this is the moment where you've got to start being aggressive, especially considering the fact that Klimas there is a lapped car that is significantly slower. They're going to get out of the way of it there. Is anybody going to take that poke to the inside? No, but here comes Piscatell being a little bit aggressive on the back of Jackson Bell.
Really racy looking, has that 28 leaning on the dampers through the first corner, absolutely getting the most mechanical grip he can out of it, right on the tailpipes of Jackson Bell. And these two have swapped spots a number of times. Which driver is waiting in the wings to make a pass on who in the final 2 laps of this race?
Yeah, that's the real question here at this point, is who's going to be the one to make that aggressive move. Piscatell gets a good run out of turn 6. Maybe he's going to be able to get a little bit of something here going into turn 7. Pokes his nose to the inside. Here he comes. Is he going to be late enough on the binders to make this work? No, he's going to back it off there. Oh, but still is able to get a little bit of overlap between himself and Jackson Bell. Bell almost hip checks him out of the way as they go into 8. And that's going to be Bell holding on to the position.
Yeah, just put himself on the wrong side of the track. Just like at turn 1, if you put yourself on the wrong line, you can actually end up on the right one for a couple of corners in a row. So Piscatell needs to try that again, maybe to driver's right entering turn 7. If you can keep overlap there, you basically get the pass given to you by nature of the next few corners being all right-handers.
Exactly, and that's that kind of next level thing that you're going to have to do as drivers. As there goes the white flag, though, for your leaders here at this point. Spike Kohlbecker taking the one to go mark. Justin Piscatell will be taking it shortly as he continues to try to battle with Jackson Bell.
Okay, so we have a couple battles that will kick off here. This one certainly will between Jackson Bell and Piscatell. Your leaders, that could be volatile at any moment. And then, of course, that battle for 8th that we've been waiting to get very spicy. It has not yet gotten there, but I'm sure it will with just 2.4 miles remaining in the Toyota GR Cup North America season.
As we focus back here on the number 88 machine, this is Ruben Iglesias Jr., and there they go. Coming on through here is the battle for the lead, about 4 or 5 tenths of a second in between Kohlbecker and Wagner, as Wagner continues to try to push to take victory away from his teammate.
Yeah, it's just a half a second between these two and half a lap to go for Gresham Wagner. He has not been able to make inroads on Kohlbecker. I don't know that he'll be able to do it in the final half a lap either, but he's going to push and use every bit of mechanical grip he's got to run his teammate down.
Yeah, he is going to absolutely push to the Dickens here on that number 5 machine, try to see if he's able to get anything to play. Going to look down through the right-hander of turn 10. Wagner trying to close in the gap, about 2 car lengths.
Last couple of corners here for Gresham Wagner and Spike Kohlbecker. Kohlbecker was battling for the championship, got broadsided at Sebring and Sunset Bend, unsighted contact, destroyed the car. They've repaired it, but now battling for the win with his teammate. Gresham Wagner is close. He's half a car length back now through turn 13. It's coming to blows here in the final corners. Kohlbecker trying to cling to it, DJ, as the Toyota GR Cup North America season comes to a close.
Kohlbecker looks like he's going to be able to have the advantage as they come out of turn 14 and onto the main straightaway. Chasing towards the yard of bricks. Here they go, and it is Spike Kohlbecker to take victory in the final race of the season. Jackson Bell, Justin Piscatell going to be side by side as they go through. Piscatell trying to go the long way around.
And Piscatell's got one last bit of a straightaway here to pull up alongside the number 2. They're nose to tail. This hard-fought battle is going to go to Jackson Bell in the number 2 for Precision Racing LA. Bocuse hangs on to the fight for 8th, and for behind them, the 8 of Corey Lewis stole one away from Clemens for 11th in the final moments in the run to the bricks.
That was a very, very close run and a great charge up through the field there for Corey Lewis. Very impressive indeed for him. Farther back in the field, looks like Mia Lovell's going to be able to hold on to that 17th place position. A good run there for Mia to be able to close back in and regain those positions after getting turned around earlier on.
Yeah, and the 55 of Spike Kohlbecker, this has got to be a special win. Beating his teammate here, the championship slipped away in the last couple of rounds, but to finish out a season on a high note after the car was wrecked at Sebring, this is going to be a sweet one here. And Gresham Wagner, what a talent he was all season long in that number 5 for Tech Sport Racing. And many fans are familiar with Gresham, and he has come here in this series and certainly showed how competitive Toyota GR Cup North America is. And the number of winners we've had, the number of battles, and the number of on-track passes has just been exceptional. But I know that Spike's feeling this one right now. You can't win here and not just appreciate the history over a century deep at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
It is the most famous racetrack in all of North America, if not the most famous racetrack in all of the world. It is Indianapolis. It's Indy. There is no other way to say it. Spike Kohlbecker is going to add his name to the list of many, many drivers that have taken victory here, getting heads up, getting congratulations from the rest of the field, and this one is going to be a trophy that is very special in Spike's trophy case.
I was going to say, this will be on the center of the mantle for sure for Spike Kohlbecker. And how about Tech Sport Racing? Their program this season has been exceptional, and I want to give a shout out also to BSI Racing for their efforts late in the year with Rick Segrini, another podium for that number 18, the young driver. He has just done such a phenomenal job in that number 18. I hope we see him again next season. He has been a phenomenal talent to drive up onto the podium. Will Rogers always in the fight there in 4th place, but again, Kohlbecker and Wagner, that fight was awesome. It came down to it. Hey, maybe one more lap, Gresham would have had a swipe at him, but Kohlbecker denies him.
Kohlbecker denies him here for the moment, but we'll have to see how the rest of it plays out there as here comes Spike down into pit lane. We'll be able to talk to him shortly. Very excited to be able to do that. Your podium, again, Spike Kohlbecker, Gresham Wagner, and Jordan Segrini. Your Indava highest finishing female, as it has been for so many times over the course of this season. Mia Lovell, she has really been a revelation this season. We've gotten to know Mia pretty well, and she is not only a wonderful person, a very talented skateboarder as well, but really proving herself to be a most talented driver.
Yeah, she's done a nice job job this season, as has everyone. And Toyota GR Cup North America, even in the drivers' meetings, I said, we didn't really know what to expect at the beginning of the season, but after this weekend and all of the previous weekends, a pat on the back to all the drivers and teams for a job well done this year. And I think there'll be celebrations in order, both for the winners of the season and even for Tyler Gonzalez. This wasn't the weekend he was looking to close out the championship with, but he locked it down at Sebring, DJ, and just wasn't at the top of the order.
No, wasn't at the top of the order, but the driver who was up at the top of that order was Spike Kohlbecker. As we said, him and Gresham Wagner and Jordan Segrini rounding out your podium. Will Rogers, I think, heard me talk about his race pace being a little bit lacking, really responded here today to take home a well-deserved fourth place. Tyler Wettengill, a great one as well. Jackson Bell continuing on his good form of good race pace up in the sixth place.
Yeah, nicely done there by Jackson Bell. Piscatell comes home seventh, and Bocuse clings to eighth in that battle with Weisenberg and Yoder and Clemens. Clemens lost a spot to Corey Lewis by a nose at the Yard of Bricks.
Yeah, and Lewis with a good run through the field. Remember, that was one of the drivers that had to start at the very back of the field to be able to run up through there at that point. Very impressive. Hugs there from the Tech Sport Racing team all the way around. That's going to be a very happy Spike Kohlbecker here. And it looks like here, just in a second, we go down to Amanda Busick, who's ready to talk to our victor.
There's a big hug with his dad. And Spike, as you get your helmet off, just with the 1-2 finish for Tech Sport, you help your team get the team championship this season in the Toyota GR Cup Series. And Spike, I was talking to your dad, who was emotional as you were making your way over here, and reminded us that it was just 2 weeks ago that you were in a hospital getting a CAT scan. How much extra special will that kiss on the bricks be this time?
It's awesome. The Tech Sport car was great, and I really didn't think I was going to be here this weekend, but I'm lucky to have a healthy body and a healthy mind, and I had a quick recovery, and we had a really good weekend. That's 2 first place and a second place on the weekend, so I'm very happy.
What's the resiliency to keep your mind in it?
You just focus. You got to pinch yourself during the race, like, oh my gosh, I'm driving a car. Yeah, I'm very happy, and what a rocket ship we had today.
Beautiful. Sometimes it's just that simple.
Sometimes it's just that simple indeed, but all smiles there. And yeah, as we said earlier, Kyle, a very, very rough Sebring there for Spike Kohlbecker. To be able to respond like that out here this weekend, pure class.
Yeah, Spike stuck it this weekend. You mentioned 2 wins in a second. That's just an exceptional weekend here to rebound from Sebring and to go out on a high note. That just has to give him so much energy and excitement for what lies ahead. Here's a look at the points on the season. Of course, Tyler Gonzalez wrapped up the championship, but it was the Tech Sport cars, not only 1 and 2 in the race, but 2 and 3 in the points, DJ.
Yeah, they had a very good run, and Will Rogers as well, locking down that 4th place position. Justin Piscatell in 5th place. Jackson Bell in 6th. A very, very good running there for him. Lucas Weisenberg, your other victor from the season, in 7th. Some other very important moments there for all of them.
Yeah, and how about Jordan Segrini, tied for 10th in the driver standings after only running half the season. That's impressive. And Tech Sport Racing winning the team championship as well. That's pretty impressive for them here this season. Let's have a look at the highlights of this race, DJ. Started with a nice run down towards turn number 1.
Yeah, and really setting the scene here for what we saw through the rest of the race. Spike Kohlbecker very aggressive at the beginning. We got through turn 1 nice and cleanly. Spike not giving up. Jordan Segrini trying to put a little bit of pressure there from behind. There we saw Mia Lovell getting next inside there with Austin Dodge as they ran their way through. Tyler Gonzalez finding himself in a little bit of trouble early on.
Yeah, he had pressure from the 23 at Tommy McCarthy. Big slide there as they came through the last couple of corners. And then this one on the front straightaway, contact front to rear, set to 57, north of 100 miles an hour, sliding into the runoff area.
Yeah, just a breaking miscommunication there, but this is the battle that we really kept following throughout the entire race. This battle for about 5th place on back. Justin Piscatell, Jackson Bell involved in it, Paul Bocuse, Jordan Segrini, Will Rogers. This is really where it was. And another great run up through the field for Corey Lewis here. Started at the back, able to finish up into the top 15.
Yeah, nicely done there. There's the 10 of Mark Pombo getting turned around and lights the tires up as he tries to escape the trouble spot there, center track. But Spike Kohlbecker rebounds and wins here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, absolutely locked on in was Kohlbecker, and he was able to take the victory as they run. Kyle, we're about ready to end here, but any final thoughts on the season?
I'm just so thankful to have been a part of this first season here in Toyota GR Cup North America. So thank you to the series, and thank you to the excellent broadcast bringing it week in and week out. This is such a fun series to be a part of, DJ.
I couldn't agree anymore. And on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, and Kyle Heyer, it's been a pleasure to bring you the racing action here. We'll see you next year.